GoldTV. Doctors and nurses of Reddit who have delivered babies to mothers who clearly cheated on their husbands. What was that like? Newborn had chlamydia. Got it from the mom, obviously. So the mom admits she was cheating on the dad, because there's no other way to explain that one. Except the dad was cheating too, with the other guy's girlfriend, and all four of them had chlamydia, with no idea who had it first. They also had no idea who the actual dad was. That was a rodeo. I have a white friend who is a superman of a dad. When his third child was born, she was obviously of mixed race. His white wife had an affair with a black man. The wife also had substance abuse issues before this pregnancy and was no longer dependable or stable as a mother. So my friend immediately divorced her and took custody of the kids. All of them. He's been raising his two bio kids and the third child, who isn't technically his, for the past decade. She's his princess and he loves her exactly like the other two. Obligatory, not a doctor/nurse, but both of my parents had blonde hair. When I was born, my hair was strawberry blonde. My paternal grandparents lost and accused my mom of cheating because red tinted hair didn't run in their family. However, it ran in my mom's family, with a red head popping up every now and then. My paternal grandparents didn't know that. They just really hated my mom, so looked for excuses to drag her down. It wasn't until I stopped looking like a potato, as most newborns do, and started looking like a person, when my dad's family features came through enough to make them apologize to my mom. Little different twist. I'm Ukrainian. My great-grandfather was Crimean Tatar, who are mixed Turkic and Mongolian. My wife is Ukrainian and Italian. My first boy was blonde. My second was dark-haired, dark-skinned, and has the classic almond-shaped Asiatic eyes. Mongolian spot. Despite the fact that we know my family history, we ordered a test to make sure there was no separation at birth. Stuff. C-section. Yep, that's our boy. You would never know looking at us, but that boy is genetically related to us, and we love him to pieces. Not a doctor, but my best friend's brother-in-law has two black parents and came out completely white. DNA test confirmed they were both his parents. It just be like that sometimes. In Cuba, no one looks like their parents. Mixed race babies be like that. I was told this story by a nurse. Veracity might be clouded by time, but a birth of the couple's third child. The couple was white. The baby was obviously of Pacific Islander descent. Everyone went very quiet. The nurse telling me the story said she took a moment of silence as she realized what had happened. Then she tried to act normally, but waiting for the outburst. She said the tension was unreal. The guy stared for a minute at a child that was very obviously not his. The mum was already in tears and talking very fast. The guy stood up, looked around for a minute, then left the room. Never said a word. He wasn't seen again at the hospital. The mum spent the rest of the day on her phone. The nurse doesn't think she ever found him. The last part is even more distantly related gossip, but allegedly the father cut all ties immediately, speaking regarding care of his two actual kids only through his lawyer. If any of that is true, I take my hat off to the guy. Edit. Just to clarify, the story goes he was very much into raising/looking after his actual kids, but wanted nothing further to do with the mum or the kid that wasn't his. He lawyered up to avoid potential emotional fallout, which to me is pretty classy, again, if true. I got a weird one. My previous neighbor was a nurse and delivered one where a buddy of mine was involved. A buddy of mine she knew came in with his GF who was in labor. My buddy was clearly not keen on having a kid, but the mother didn't want her abortion and was madly in love with my buddy to a point that it was obsession. So the GF decided to keep it in order to keep him around. The GF was proper paranoid, delusional, and an abusive head case that made my buddy's life hell for 18 months. He was at the point where I genuinely thought he might just run away or slip into depression and kill himself due to this woman. She insisted it was his and was expecting him to either marry her or, in her words to one of my mutual friends, "If he won't love me, I'll just take him for all his money for the next 18 years. My neighbor said he looked like death while the baby was being delivered in the room. The baby comes out. My buddy and the girl, who are both of English/Irish heritage, looked and saw a Pacific Islander baby. Turns out the GF was sleeping with one of the local rugby players on the low, who knocked her up. My neighbor said she has never seen someone who looked so emotionally and mentally broken do such a 180 in less than a minute. My neighbor looked back at him as he walked out of the room, laughing maniacally with joy. Looked at my neighbor and said, "That's not mine. Thank fuck I'm free." She said he was spotted dancing down the hallway to the exit. My buddy is doing okay now. He got a nice, smoking hot South African GF who he has been with for 3 years. They are looking to buy a house together and get married soon. His ex is now living with her parents in a small granny shack with a kid. The Pacific Islander baby daddy went mire, and last I heard, is suspected to be hiding out on some island in his native Fiji. Can't blame the guy for leaving, and I personally hope he is never found. In high school, my gym teacher was married to the biology teacher, who was also really good friends with my math teacher. Always saw them chatting and walking together. Well, the BO teacher got pregnant, and when she brought the baby in, there was an unignorable resemblance to the math teacher. Her husband ended up driving to the nearest hospital and shooting himself dead in the parking lot. Was a big scandal at our relatively small private school. One of a few, actually. Had 2 women give birth a few days apart on my floor. Turns out they actually had the same baby daddy. The father of the 2 newborns got both patients pregnant around the same time. It was an interesting day for the social worker. Oh man. A friend got 2 women pregnant several months apart. One of the women had complications during the pregnancy and the baby was born very early. On the exact same day, the other woman also went into labor. Father has 2 babies, same date of birth, different mothers. The women knew about one another. One ended up being insane and unfit and bolted. So the other woman is raising both kids. Obligatory, not a doctor or nurse, but this situation happened in my extended family. My aunt and uncle had 2 kids, both tow-haired blondes. My aunt is blonde. My uncle has light brown hair. They have their 3rd kid, who has the darkest, curliest hair you've ever seen. My uncle thought my aunt cheated on him with the literal milkman. Apparently that guy had dark curly hair. Bad luck. Turns out, my uncle's mom had dark, curly hair when she was born and throughout her childhood, but started coloring her hair blonde and straightening it when she was a teen. My uncle never knew his own mother's natural hair or texture, and there were very few pictures of her as a young girl, so he hadn't know it wasn't a natural hair. Thankfully, when my aunt and uncle's marriage was on the rocks, my grandma casually mentioned how much this girl would hate her hair when she grew you and would color/straighten it, just like she had. Uncle had a sigh of relief, and all has been good since then. BTW. My cousin does not dye or straighten her hair. Guess grandma was wrong. When my baby was born, people asked me if her father was Polynesian. Nope. He's a skinny white man. There was no doubt he was the father. She was born with thick black hair. She was a big baby, 4 kilograms, and had jaundice, which made her look very tan. The hair fell out, the jaundice went away, she thinned out, and I now have a strawberry blonde haired 2-year-old that looks exactly like her papa. But man, if I hadn't known he was the only man I'd slept with, I would have some serious doubts. Had a patient who came into her for UT with her boyfriend of 4 months. His words. She was 19. Acting extremely dramatic for just having UT. We tell her we need urine. She urges us to cath her, which is really unusual, but she says she can't pee, so me and other nurse assume the position to put in a catheter with her lying on the gurney. At this point, nurse screams, "Call L&D." She's crowning. L&D nurse gets in just in time to grab the child as it shoots out into her hands and is a living, breathing baby. The girl swears she had no idea she was pregnant. They wheel her off to postpartum, and the guy is just kind of left standing there, dumbstruck. We only been dating 4 months. I had no idea she was pregnant. She never mentioned it at all. As he just buried his head in his knees while he was sitting on the floor against the hallway wall. I felt so bad for the guy. Never had something like this, but I did hear about a woman who wanted a DNA test for the baby that had literally just come out of her. She wanted to make sure her husband hadn't cheated on her. If you enjoyed this video, Make sure to sub and leave a like. See you next time.